بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأزواجه وذرياته والتابعين. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وحالا وفقها في الدين. اللهم صل على محمد وآله في الأولين وصل على محمد وآله في الآخرين وصل على محمد وآله في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. واغفر لنا وارحمنا ولا تؤاخذنا وأنت أرحم الراحمين برحمتك يا أرحم. So it's nice to be with all of you here this morning. I'm sorry if I'm late. But I thought they put 2 hours slot for this thing. I said, that's a lot. They said, "Sure, you don't know. Women's got lots of questions." So look, I'll go through maybe some basic views that I think were challenges that we all have when we identify with. And then the idea is to allow you all to ask questions and interact, discuss. So it's not just upload, download kind of thing, but it's more interactive and we can get somewhere. So if we examine, I start off of the Quran because I'd like to start from the Quran. If we examine the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows us, for example, with Ibrahim and Ismail alayhim as-salam, the example of fatherhood, motherhood, right? In modern terms, before, after. Maryam, Isa alayhi salam. So father, son, mother, son as well, right? No. Imra'atu Imran, Maryam, mother, daughter, all right? So, and I, needless to say, so I don't want to go and explain all those details because they're all known to you. And the idea is that parenthood is not biological. Parenthood is much more than just a biological relationship. And just to cut through the chase, the reason the second generation today is unrelated to their parents, unrelated, is because parenthood has been reduced to two things: biology and providing food and shelter. So we have taken the most important part of parenthood out of the parent's job and outsourced it, unmonitored, to a third party or to many third parties. And that is instilling values. That is, you know how in the old days they used to say, like mother, like daughter? Yeah, that's the old days. There's no more like mother, like daughter. Like mother, unlike daughter. Unrelated. And it's becoming more so unrelated. I'm saying almost entirely unrelated, culturally speaking. Values. The value systems are not related. General objectives. I'm not saying the objectives of the first generation need to identify with the second, obviously. But they're macro objectives. Success in this dunya and the akhirah. Right? Isn't that a macro objective for all? In general, everybody wants to be successful in the dunya, but also everybody wants to be successful in the akhirah. That's a macro objective. That's not necessarily present. Even the macro details of what success means in the dunya. Because success meant in the dunya as well is what? Is building a family. Was building family ever easy? Ask Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. He had to travel from one place almost a region, from one region to the other. Building a family was not easy. That's the idea, though. It's living beyond the self. Was it struggle-free? No, never was. One generation annihilates the earlier generation. You keep telling them, don't do that. How many times did I tell you, don't do that? It's not good. Okay, Ma, I will. Tomorrow. Didn't I just yesterday told you you should not be doing that because it's not good? Oh, yes, I remember. Third day, they tell you exactly why they should not be doing that while they're doing it. And then you have to do it again and do it again. And it becomes poetry, and you do it again and you do it again. Welcome to life. So, I think one of the main important issues that we all face in nowadays world, not just in the West, but also everywhere in the world, is that the parents are no longer directly involved in the children's upbringing, period. They outsource them to school, number one, whatever they're learning at school. Number two, I'm not saying schools are bad, by the way, I'm saying whatever they learn at schools. After schools, unfettered access to the wild web, www, World Wild Web. Oh, I'm just playing games. Okay. I hope that parents have taken a nice look at games, because games are not always about games. There are lots of messages in the games. There are lots of innuendos in the games. There are lots of things in the games that are telling you about things other than just the games. There are lots of links that show up and pop up while you're playing games, and they're not innocently popping up. There is nice, none so innocent algorithms behind you logging in, and there's nice artificial intelligence-backed systems that cater to change the values of generations. It's a free world. You want others to educate your children? Don't complain. Because they're actually the ideological children of others. They may be your biological children, but they're not really your products. They don't relate to you. Not to your deen or your values. Maybe to your sentiments. Okay, I'll do it because she loves it. I don't want to upset her. She's been all right. Forget about something called birrul walidain, or being good, or it's an act of worship to have birr, kindness, submissiveness, not in a wrong way, in an actually nice, elegant, eloquent, elevated, refined ways to the parents. Because that concept, that religious concept, is not taught in games. It's just not. The value of worship? Waste of time. There are more exciting things to do. Working on the tracks of excitement in the brain of a young person, and hitting that over and over and over. Addiction, ladies and gentlemen, are not just in drugs. Not just in alcohol. Addiction is not restricted to that. So, while I'm saying there's lots of bad things on the worldwide or world wild web, there are lots of good things. I understand most parents, and don't look at only yourselves. You say, my wife works, my wife is an OBGYN, she practices, and you know an obstetrician she works more than me, I think. There needs to be a balance. On the cost of both parents' personal achievement goals. So instead of saying on the cost, that's the cost you have to pay for being parents. If you're not willing to do that, then don't become parents. Because you're going to be responsible. So if you think your job is just to provide a loaf of bread on the table, I've got news for you. You're wrong. So I did not come here to give you any cosmetic lessons of how beautiful things are and how rosy everything is and all. I'm just here to tell you the truth as the truth is, as much as I know it. Because you all are responsible people and we all have a duty. You cannot outsource instillment of value system of your children to third parties and expect your children to actually honor your own values that you've inherited religiously or culturally. It's just insanity to expect that. You have to put the time. You haven't put the time yet? You need to put the time. And this is not just like 5 minutes a day. And this is not just once a week on the weekend. And this does not include throwing them for babysitting at the Sunday or Saturday school at the mosque. Just so we know. Because what happens at the mosque is a glorified kindergarten, or whatever you call it here. What do you call it? Kindergarten? What do you call it? What do y'all call it? Kindergarten? Yeah, childcare, yeah. It's a glorified whatever, even if they're like older kids, you throw them there, I'm sending you to the masjid, Allahu Akbar, you're going to become Abu Hanifa at the end of the weekend. Yeah, you're probably not. And it's nice, glorified kindergarten, you all know this. And they have fun, all right, maybe it's more decent of an environment, hopefully. There's always contaminated stuff. And they're not really learning much, but it's okay. All right, let's consider it a nice social activity. So I don't want you to think the mosque is doing your job for you, because it's not doing the job for you. No one's going to do your job for you. I learned that. Right? I learned that myself with my own children. I need to listen to their Quran myself. I can't just have just a qualified teacher always doing what I think he should be doing, for example. Etc., etc., etc. So, in short, my dear beloved brothers and sisters, your children are your children. The challenges that you know are out there, your children are not necessarily apprehensive of the magnitude of those challenges. They're sort of like the lone sheep with few wolves around. You need to guide them nicely, as much as you can, nicely I say. And you need to walk with them. You need to ensure you have time of instillment of values, and not just that weekend thing that you throw them at the masjid. There needs not to be unfettered access to the wild web. There is a need for absolute disconnection and doing things that are family engaging, culturally engaging, and also religiously engaging, not just things. So how do you do that? I don't know. I don't have the answer. You become creative. That's your job. How creative can we be to make something engaging? I don't know. You figure this out. So meaning, not necessarily everything we do is engaging. We need to be engaging. How? You're going to make some mistakes, but eventually find out. Improve, make it better. Does it require you time investment? Yes. Resource, money investment? Yes. It's not free. Right? Let me just say this. In the process of educating children, or even your own education, I mean, you're having to bring me here and pay for my flight and all that. So, education is expensive. So please try to understand that, and I know most of you do. Education is expensive. That's just part of the deal. And if you don't think education is expensive, try ignorance. Don't cut corners. That's what I'm saying. Again, it's really straightforward. Education is expensive. Whatever it takes you to come up with a system at the house, at the mosque, outside of the house and the mosque on a weekly basis, where you're engaged, your children are engaged, and you're growing, you're instilling values in them, you're having good, decent family time, there's engagement, there's growth. Whatever that takes is what needs to be done. And that doesn't mean, obviously, I'm talking reasonable here, doesn't mean crazy. Thank you, Sumaya. I have another issue also I'd like to share with you before I stop and I allow you, open the floor for questions. Language. Some of you all are immigrants, meaning you have another language. I don't care what that language is. It could be the African one, what is it called? Which language was that? No, the Kosa, that's right. Sorry, our Kosa friends. Right? I don't care what language it is. Teach them your language. So I go to South Africa a lot. So our people there, they have Xhosa, they have Zulu, they have other languages. Teach them that. Language does not only mean means of communication. Language imparts culture. Language imparts values, respect, poetry, art, appreciation, bigger box. Don't think just because now I'm in Australia, everybody needs to speak English and I need to talk like them. Please do. Just don't drop your language. You speak Bahasa, please teach them Bahasa. Speak at home. They'll learn English, don't worry. You add diversity to the already diversified community in Australia. So, otherwise, you're really reducing, again, what you are imparting to the children. So I think I'm going to stop here and open the floor for more engagement from you all. So feel free. I don't appreciate written questions.
When children are older and they struggle to pray, how do we help them?
If you don't start from the beginning, when you come towards the end, you're trying to fix the boat after the boat has sailed. becomes tough, much tougher. So now you have to be the clown and bring all kinds of tricks to make them laugh. It all starts at the beginning. Having not started at the beginning, it's never too late. You need to start, nevertheless, ASAP. All right? So, how do you start that? You all wake up for Fajr together. Make it nice. Make it a family event. In fact, at home, I made it a rule. And I don't have the perfect home, just in case y'all are wondering. I'm just like y'all. But it's a rule. When I am at home, the salah is jama'ah for everybody. Even when I'm not at home, they need to pray jama'ah. So the jama'ah must be established. Not everybody is praying alone like they're, like they're hiding. So there has to be jama'ah. So, and that's something that becomes a family event. You designate a place in the house that becomes like your house masjid. You'll see how much barakah Allah puts in that spot. You just designated that spot in your own home, and Allah puts barakah in it. Allah puts blessings in it. It becomes a place of tranquility, your zikr, your whatever you want to do, right? So, yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Shaykh, in today's world, we see the LGBT is a very big thing. Alhamdulillah, in most of our community and all our community is all straight for the moment. But how do we address this issue? Because they are going to be making some rules and changes to the religious education system in Australia. So it's going to be incorporated into this LGBT is going to incorporate it into that. So how do we address that? And a lot of parents and lots of people have been asking me, I said, look, my children are all grown up, but I feel from a young age, as you said, teach them salah and everything from home in Jama. And what else do you offer us?
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair.
I don't think the law in any Western democracy will force you to adopt things against your faith. It may give affirmative action to people, to certain people. Say, all right, let's say those people are protected under the law. If you say anything against them, it's considered injustice, and that's fine. I don't think that Islam has business in discriminating against people personally per se. Even when we consider something sinful, we are not discriminating against the person. We're just rejecting the sin. And we're believing that this sin is actually spiritually bankrupting. So that's the idea. And I think that should be within your religious freedom to teach your children. And you have to do that. And that brings us again to the issue of value system instillment. If we don't do value system instillment from the beginning, and when I say value system, what am I talking about? So, again, I think we've said that yesterday. I don't know if I've said that yesterday or so, but let me repeat myself here. Oftentimes what we call Islamic education, whether it's in Islamic schools or in the mosques, includes speaking about the law. Do, don't. Law, fiqh. Pray, this is how you pray. Do this. Do not do this in prayers. Do this fasting. Do not do this. Do that. Do not. So oftentimes when we speak about, when we teach what we call Islamic schools, we don't really teach the philosophy of Islam. We don't teach people mostly, who is Allah? Why is He worthy of worship? Why nothing else is worthy of worship but Him? What are His attributes? How do I get to know Him? How do I become closer to Him? How do I experience His presence and love and mercies? How do I grow my relationship with Him? We're going to talk about that. All right, you're coming to Islamic school, welcome. We're going to talk about salah, siyam, zakah, hajj. What's that? Do, don't, be careful. You do, you are, you don't, go, do, don't. Law. Religion is three things. Creed, who is Allah, why is He worthy, right? Who is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alih? Why is He a messenger? What's this book that He came up with? Is it really His book or was it revealed to Him? How can we verify? Can we do some comparison also with other scriptures without belittling them? Just academic and neutral, and see, do we see actually divine light there, or do we not? Right, etc., etc. Look for makaminur rahmah. We look for the love and the mercies in the book of Allah Azza wa Jal and in the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's creed. Then law, fiqh, do, don't. The third part of any faith system, value system. Honesty, truthfulness, transparency, trustworthiness, chivalry, futuwa, chivalry, right? Selflessness, generosity. You all heard nobility, the prophetic characters, my dear brothers and sisters, which you know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about something from out of space. That value system is so key in what we call the Muslim character building. Among them chivalry, among them family, among them the Prophet ﷺ, for example, says, "Khayrukum khayrukum li ahlih." The best of you, those who are best to their families. Yani means you have a family. Wa ana khayrukum li ahli, and I'm the best to my family. These are all value systems. So instead of teaching creed, aqidah yani, law and value systems, what do we teach usually our children? Law only. We don't touch value systems whatsoever. We don't do character building. We don't touch aqidah anyway because it's a strange topic. Maybe only theologically just a bit. So when you teach your children law, what do they become? Lawyers. You know what Shakespeare said about lawyers. No. What I'm saying is, what they become is they become very, number one, do, don't. Why? I don't know. It's just do and don't. I don't really care why. I don't care why now because I am doing, but I really don't know why. Therefore, I have no conviction of why. It's just a law. That's dangerous. Because all it takes is like this, and I'm out. There's no point. What is this for? Number two, they become judgmental. Religion becomes now a weapon. Oh, look, wrong, right, evil, good, kufr, iman. I mean, it becomes black and white and sharp, judgmental, narrow-minded oftentimes, inflexible, rigid, intolerant, rather than encompassing, merciful, redemptive, vast, appreciative. So my idea is the basic law is very important to know. You need to know the basic law. Shouldn't take you more than a weekend to learn. Salah, Siyam, Zakah, Hajj, how to do them? Weekend. You know what? I tell the Muslim schools, you don't need to teach them that. Let the parents teach them how to pray. How long does it take you as a parent to teach your 7-year-old how to pray? What? A half an hour? Good for you. Do that. It's your job. Hey, that should be an honor for you. Please indulge. How long does it take you to teach your children what to do in fasting, what not to do in fasting? Do you need to get a PhD in how to do so you can teach them that? Well, guess what? Those who are teaching them don't have PhDs either. We need the mosques and the Muslim schools to teach them creed and the philosophy of Islam and why we are Muslims. We need to teach them character building or morals, or let me use the word value system. So I'm not going to, because now it's a moral value system. And I'll repeat myself. Again, I think today for the last time. What I mean by teaching character building or value system is actually character building in the actuality of character building. Meaning, not that, son, you need to be generous because the Prophet ﷺ was a generous man. Not being generous is not good. Sure, yeah. I got it. We need character building. Means lab, not lecture, to instill those characters in young people, to nurture them until they become nature, not through rhetoric only. Observational learning must be part of it. Lab examples must be part of it. Challenges to their generosity or the instilled value must be part of it, etc., etc., etc. Not storytelling. Character building until the building is complete. Now you say, okay, so the mosque and the Sunday school and Islamic school and must be doing that, but they're not doing that. They're not? Okay, good. Congratulations, you found out eventually. So guess who has to do it? Yeah, you. Oh, but I'm so busy. Okay. I rest my case. Next. Sorry, you signed up for this. I didn't. I was happy, going to the Gold Coast today again, and just looking at the sea, and and all that.
Assalamu alaikum, ya Shaykh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We see from your very illustrious and long biography that you are very well educated, both Islamically and in a secular education.
I appreciate your praise. My head is already big. Don't do this to me, please. I already have my problems. Don't add them. Be kind. Show mercy. Show mercy. Allah will show mercy on you.
My question, ya Shaykh, is if we wish to put our children on a similar path, could you suggest how we divide time? How do we prioritize one over the other? Do it simultaneously? How can we provide them with a dual education in this manner?
Look, everybody's path in this world is different. In my experience, and again, everyone's experience varies, and my experience is by no means a standard for anybody. But in my experience, and what I try to do with my children, and I don't know if that's going to work also. I'm trying because this is all new territory for many of us. I'm an immigrant, meaning I moved from the Arab world to the United States 35 years ago. So I'm 36 now. Huh? How's that? That was a good one. Right? So I'm finding my feet, like they say. I have a bit of a view on so-called Islamic studies. And you don't have to accept it, because it may not be right after all. Part of it is what I just told you right now. Meaning, less focus on the law as much, just the bare minimum you can learn it in one weekend. And Islamic studies to me means character building. If you have Muhammadan characters, you're a good Muslim. If you have memorized a lot of information, how many gigas? How many gigas have you memorized? Because I got some stick chips, these little things, right? They've memorized more. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed by the looks. Sorry. I'm not impressed by your memorization. I'm not impressed by your recitation either. I'm impressed by your internalization, manifestation. I'd like to copy that. I'm not impressed by your titles, what the people call you, whatever. The way you look, where you put your shal, how you put your imama, all that stuff. When I go to work, I take all that stuff out, just so you know. And this is sunnah, that's not fard. I go to hospitals, I wear scrubs. There's a priority. Fard is high, sunnah second, sunnah muakkada, sunnah ghair muakkada, etc. You know, mustahab, halal, etc. There is a list of priority. When the house is on fire, you don't try to go save the village. You're a fool. Save the house because there's no more village. So, my first point in Islamic education is very basic. First of all, priority. Creed. Right. Why am I Muslim? Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Who is the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? What's the Quran? Basic stuff. Absolute need. One weekend suffices. How long? In my view, one weekend is more than enough. We teach at the Medina Foundational course for non-career people, meaning non-career scholars, so-called scholars, right? You all know I don't consider someone a scholar if he studied 15 years, right? Because that's not quantitatively enough. Possibly with exceptions, beginner scholarship level. Because it takes you about, what, 10 years to become a PhD, right? A bachelor's degree is about 4 years, master's is about 3, that's 7. And a fast PhD is about 5. That's in a good school. And also it depends on what kind of dissertation, depth, breadth, all that. Not any nonsense can count for scholarship, right? 7, let's say 6, 7, and 6, that's what? Help me with the math. I was terrible in mathematics in school. So there you go. You got about, what, 12 years? Then maybe a couple of decent research, depth, breadth-wise. I'll start looking at you as a good student of knowledge, maybe, bordering on beginning scholarship in the field that you supposedly spent your PhD, beginning half master's, PhD, and postgraduate research in. You're not a scholar in the field. You're attempting to enter the field of scholarship. So, in general, anyway, that's an off tangent. All right? So it's provable track record in the field. In the specific field, not in the field of Islam. Nobody knows all the sciences of Islam except Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There is no alim that knows the alam, the whole world. There's no such thing. Not to the point, not as far as I know. Whatever you hear, all that stuff is nice, ceremonial, antique, and mostly non-factual. It's endearment terms rather than description. And unfortunately, it's wrong. So for young professionals or wider community, we offer something called, whether it's in the US, Canada, the UK, or South Africa, we offer something called the foundational course. That's 1 weekend a month over a year. Intensive weekend, huh? Yani 8 hours a day, but 1 weekend a month. So we'll give you 3 weekends to go to the Gold Coast. 1 weekend you're gonna have to donate in that year, and it's gonna be, we're gonna fry your brain, literally, for 8 hours. And we go over the basic modules of Islam. That's why we call it foundational. So Aqidah or faith is only 1 weekend. You're done for the rest of your life. Unless you want to become scholar or you just want to research more on your own. God bless you. I love it. More knowledge, better. What a beauty. You want to learn more. But legally speaking, from an Islamic perspective, you're no longer required to know more, because in fact, in this weekend, you'll be taught more than what you will need as a minimum necessity, as obligatory necessity. You will become much more knowledgeable than what you need to be. 1 weekend only. Law, only 1 weekend. Whether you follow the practice, the Shafi'i school or the Hanafi school. 1 weekend only. Then we'll go 10 weekends. In my view, after that, the rest of your life now is for your children and yourself. What is it? Character what? And then for all of you nice, great, refined adult people, it becomes character refinement. Because mashallah, you're already well built. So now you refine your character until the end of your days. Unless you want to read up on something, you already got the foundation solid. Now you can just read on your own. Not everyone needs to be a scholar. Those who want to be, I always call it either, I'm going to borrow a Christian term maybe, but it really isn't a Christian term. They say, we have a calling. So, right, our Christian brothers in humanity, they call themselves, when they do missionary work, a calling. Okay, so if you have a calling to be a learned person in Islam, I would love to see that. And that means you are overachiever. Not average achiever, no, and definitely not underachiever. Why? Because you're going to have to study a lot, my brother. And it's not going to be nice trips to Brisbane or Brisbane. You're going to have to study a lot, you're going to have to read, you're going to have to do lots of decent research, academically sound, profound, depth and breadth. You have to instill on your own self continuous CRE. You know how in medicine we have CME, continuous medical education, in order for you to get relicensure. Again, otherwise you lose your license. Your degree becomes worthless every couple of years. Same thing, you got to have your own, though there isn't, but you got to make your own CRE, continuous religious education, where you're always updating in a meaningful way and broadening your horizon, depth, breadth-wise, challenging what you know, pushing the limits on your own ignorance. I mean, you know, all the good stuff that you have to do as a continuous researcher forever. So for those who want to do this, God bless you. I'm still working, I'm not there. All right, after 35 years. But yeah, then somebody can study Islam, sure. And they can also, well, then you say, if they have that calling and they want to study the deen, what should they do? They should study something in the secular world, if you want to call it secular world, and be very good at it, and then study the deen. Or simultaneously study the deen. That's my recommendation. Meaning what? Y'all, I need engineers who know the deen well. I need accountants who know the deen well. I need journalists who know the deen well. I need managers who know the deen well. I need physicians who know the deen well. I need right authors who know the deen well. So we need all kinds of people to know the deen. So Islamic education is not mutually exclusive with other ways. Reason for that is two. Number one, unfortunately, recently meaning in the past 300-400 years, we have become regurgitative in our Islamic education. We read, memorize, we call that scholarship. Allah. Now imagine academia, you're a postgraduate fellow and you're bringing me a paper where you regurgitate what's been written. Where's your scholarship, son? So you're telling me what so-and-so said, okay. Now I'm waiting for where's your input? So studying other things as well, becoming good at them, help you in two things. Broadening your knowledge base, because mathematics is part of Islam as well in the sense of ilm, knowledge that's beneficial. Physics is also, chemistry, all these things, they help you be who you are and all that, and also financial independence. So wherever I go, I tell them I don't need you to pay my honorarium. Here and everywhere else for the past 30 years, you just pay my ticket and hotel. And if you want to invite me for food, God bless you. Otherwise, I'll buy my own food. I don't have a problem. I don't take honorarium. You pay for my ticket. Good ticket. I'm not saying this is the ideal example. If I had more, I'd probably pay my own ticket. In fact, I used to. Stop, may Allah accept. I'm not trying to brag. I used to pay for my own ways. Until it became just too much. I traveled way too much. My salary will not be enough. Right? But I used to pay my own ways. For a long time. Maybe for the longest, out of 35 years, maybe for the 20 years out of it. The past 15 years or so, we started putting a limit to that. You get married, you have children, you can't just spend all what you earn on travel. So that's important in my view. So therefore it's not either or when it comes to Islamic education for your children. Those of them who have that calling, start them off early with the Quran. Memorization. Memorize gradually, nicely, meticulously, quality over quantity. They need to excel in schools. I mean excel if they want to go into the Islamic studies. Unless they're so passionately Islamic and gifted in a way that is just beyond average and they're just average in other things. But their giftedness in the Islamic field is just way too much to discard or to marginalize, then all right. But they need to do both. It's not an either or, sorry. All right? And then you know what, after you finish your IT bachelor's and you can get a job, because I don't want you to go and study Islam and then start begging people so you can have a loaf of bread. It's a terrible way to live. Forget you live. It's a terrible way to afford life for your children. Okay, so keep that in mind. I think that the kids should understand that success is not partial, meaning you ask Allah to grant you the best in the dunya, and that is an extension for the best in the akhirah. That's how it is. All right? And so teach them they need to be studious, they need to have akhlaq, and the whole life has to be on akhlaq. As I said, character building is the key. So, I don't think that it should be either or, nor, by the way, do I think that you necessarily have to send your children to Zambia or Zimbabwe to learn Islam. Or Syria. So I'm just throwing countries without mentioning things that are sensitive to y'all. Okay? You can learn right here up to a certain threshold. Then, you need to seek expertise. So I'm just saying,
So Shaykh, alhamdulillah, we've got a almost teenager, turning 13, started high school this year. So alhamdulillah or innallah, I'm not sure which one, but it's kind of, I think it's a challenging phase for parents when it's the first teenager in the family. And I find often that you're trying to meet that balance between being a parent and being a friend and guiding them and, as you mentioned, trying to build character so that they become confident young people. If you have any tips, I mean, you've mentioned a lot, alhamdulillah, but if you have any tips also in terms of they come home, they go, Mum, my friend who's a Muslim said this and this, and I corrected him because what he was saying was not right, probably saying bad words and stuff. But then I got shut down. How do I guide my children, because I've got a few others, to be confident in going no, this is not right. But then when they get shut down, not to kind of retreat and go okay, I don't feel comfortable now to voice out if I, feel it's something wrong. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have to, the building confidence in them in social engagement is a process, right? So that happens, and sometimes they'll have awkward situations. But the important thing is, number one, asserting your base. So whatever you do is like the prophetic hadith, right? If you see something evil, you change it with your hand. You can't with your tongue. You can't, then with your heart. So you assert your base. What's my minimal base here? Heart? Okay, so guess what? I can change with my hand in a sense if someone needs help, someone is being hit or something, I'll stop, hey, don't do that. No, with my tongue, I'll tell them, you know what, whatever you're saying is wrong, I disagree with that, I don't think that's cool. In their own kid language, right? That's not cool. You know what, doesn't make you a better person. That's it. And you know what, if it's gonna be a call for mockery or whatever, or laughter or whatever, I can I've asserted my things, and then I go, it's not being isolationist, but I try to have fun. Fun could be other things as well, etc., etc. So teaching the kids to be leaders rather than followers, that's also important. That I need you to be a leader, not a follower all the time. And that's, I know it's not easy, I try to always repeat that, a leader rather than a follower, because a follower, you're waiting to be influenced, where I'm expecting you to be influencing. But I think asserting the minimal standard of my minimum base is very important. My base is that my heart will reject anything evil, period. It's not there. Even if I can't correct it.
Okay, so just following on what the sister was saying about teenagers. So I've got a teenager, just turned 13. Again, you were talking about addiction earlier on. It could be obviously a lot of different things. How do you, I guess, navigate
addiction that's not necessarily alcohol, the drugs, but it could be gaming, it could be especially like social media or the internet or all those items. How do you, strategies, I guess, what you would suggest in trying to navigate that difficult path that the kids are all going through? Because obviously it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I really, I hate to say this, I really don't know well. I'm not a social worker in this, and I always refer back to psychologists and social work in that, but I want to emphasize the absolute fact that addictiveness to these things, which may lead to other things, are just as equally addictive as alcohol and other things, and maybe more dangerous too. So I put that first because it's so important. And so, I mean, just as an uneducated approach, from me as a parent, for example, I restrict screen times entirely. And I force family time, etc. So, but that's not enough. How do we treat addictions to these things? I think that's more the field. We need to look into research in that and glean from it that which is Islamically consistent and apply it. And that's, you know, maybe some of y'all can do that and put that paper out there for everybody to benefit. But I may have just casually looked at few things here and there and over the past years, but I do not have a clear plan. How do I treat addiction to screen? And this has all become so much more accentuated after COVID, right? So COVID detached all kids from schools, put them all before screens for 8-hour days. And y'all know, I don't know about Australia, but even in the US, teachers and schools were trying to find their feet first right after COVID because they were not prepared for online. They did not know how to teach online. They did not have any preparation. So most of the 8-hour schooling on the screen was not really schooling, but yet unfettered access. And that world wild web is not always child friendly. So we need task force. I mean, like I said, this is bigger than one person. It's bigger than me for sure. We need all hands to be on deck for things like that. Maybe few childhood educators, specialists, whether early or middle childhood educators, psychologists and sociologists that can sit together and glean, I'm sure some of y'all are that, or you know people in those fields, bring some of the best ones there and put for us a guideline and please email it to me. I'd love to look at it and help spread it as well, because it's important. But it's not my field, unfortunately, and I don't know how to approach it well.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. Jazakallah khair for your input so far and your advice. I think my question is more in regards to mothers of very young children. With Ramadan coming, just around the corner, sometimes it's really difficult not to kind of go back and look at how our ibadah used to be as a young, single, without the responsibilities of wifehood and motherhood. Do you have any advice, I guess, practically, how a mother of young children, how we can get the most out of Ramadan coming up? Jazakallah khair.
Yeah. Enjoy it. I mean, the most memorable time for me, obviously with all the kids, but when the kids are 2 and the terrible 2s and the 3s, I mean, it's Jannah. Enjoy. Let them scream all the time. So what? It's okay. That's part of the deal. And they'll keep telling you, Mama, Mama, 5 times, 6 times. And you're saying, you should understand that I understand from the first time. But a 3-year-old doesn't understand that. Right? So they're going to call upon you 1,000,000 times to the point you're irritated. And like, I really got it from the first time. I usually get things from the first time. You don't know. No, I don't really know that. Teach me. I don't know. I'm only 3 years old. Just have some, you know, in the old days they said sabr is or patience is a virtue. Have some patience. Expand your heart a bit. Enjoy. When things irritate you, look at it with a smile. Because those moments are irreplaceable. I don't have any advice for you, sorry. You figure out your own, walk your own treads, meaning do your own time management, you know, and that's just life. It's you, those moments, do a time management that's conducive to your maximal growth in the house. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know everything, obviously. You figured that out already. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. My question is in regards to differing parenting views between husband and wife. What, as a wife, are you? What can you do? Like, if you don't agree with where your husband is saying you should parent your kids and it's not working, what Islamically are your obligations?
You know, it's too late in the game. I mean, you know. My idea for those who want to get married. Right, is to have what we offer at Medina, the pre-marriage seminar. 10 series. The most important of them is a detailed, honest, full disclosure list of expectations, and then work it out to become a dynamic constitution of the house that we've all agreed upon. Full disclosure, what do you want me to do? What do you expect me to do? What do you expect me to do? That's very important. And then obviously also we talk about the kids in that. But since now it's already, you know, it's already the thing is already late and all that, that means you have to sit and find points of common grounds. There's no other way. It's sort of finding common grounds and building on common grounds. All right, so we all agree on this. What's the best way? How do we get there in the best possible way without us sort of, how do I say, without us causing destruction to the family? How do we get there? So the idea is not, I always want to say as much as we can, and again, I'm guilty as charged. But how do we get there with the least destruction possible? And that's the idea. And that's obviously, everyone knows their sort of boundaries and limitations and what they can work with. And I always say, even if it's late, we tell the people who are going to get married that you need to agree on how to disagree. So at the beginning, because they're in love and marriage, and we're gonna get married, and they're sending, right? And like this, they go like sometimes like that. And all this soil mate business, right? I understand. Good. So they don't talk about problems because they don't foresee any. How can possibly be any problems in this world? It's all nice and romantic. I pray that it becomes problem-free. But I always tell them, I need you to sit and put a protocol that you both will swear to agree to on how you will solve your disagreements. And my suggestion to you is this: when you disagree, the Quran and Sunnah should be the standard between you all. Both of you will have to say, I yield to the Quran and the Sunnah if it says, I'm out. So even if you haven't agreed before, let's say, you say, all right, I'll agree to that. And if there's various interpretations, then we need to agree. Let's come and find middle grounds. Because sometimes there's few opinions on one issue. What do we do? So not my opinion versus your opinion. Let's agree. And we need to sort of, if it's after the fact, we need to sell each other into partnership. Like, okay, look, this is a partnership. I'm willing to work. Let's work together. Wallahu alam.
Assalamu alaikum. My question is for the youth that are going into their 20s and into their 30s that don't talk about it as much, but they are suffering with like mental health. It's becoming a big thing lately, and alhamdulillah, there are programs out there for the youth that are in place, but what advice can you give to the women here now that can take it home to their kids and their friends and family?
Yeah. Look, mental health issues are real. But pharmacology is not the only way. Mental health issues are real. And as a physician, I can tell you that mental health issues are actually real, even though in the United States until 1970, psychiatry was not admitted as a medical school in US medical schools because it wasn't considered science. I can't prove anything. It's what Erickson said and what Freud said. Very ethnocentric, to say the least. That's what they used to say, not anymore. So, nevertheless, mental health issues are real. When you sever society from all its support system that kept it intact for thousands of years, and you isolate, you so you deconstruct religiosity altogether, you deconstruct religious systems, you deconstruct communities, you even deconstruct families, the family structure, so families are no longer really, and then you deconstruct, you sever the connection of the individual from everything else to only one thing or so. You're bound to have that individual, even though they're connected to, let's say, their social medias and their work, but they're really, and they feel that they have so many virtual friends and so many things, and they follow everything in the world, and them following things that happen in the world on social media, they feel actually, it gives them the feeling that they're connected to everything that's happening everywhere. So it's an illusion of being connected while absolutely being disconnected. In that world where, my private space needs to be larger and larger and larger, even within a family, so that I am really taking out everyone. There's no one but me eventually. Versus it was always more we, and involvement of what even psychology or psychiatrists would call also support system. You're bound to have serious mental health issues. I'm not saying that's the only reason. I'm saying that's definitely one of the reasons. In my non-expert, I'm not a psychiatrist, so that's in my non-expert views. Just an overall observation. I would say it's a rather educated observation, maybe, but that's a claim. So what do? Well, first of all, we try to, if the mental health issue is serious, it may require serious, immediate medical attention. So that's without a doubt. And that may require medications, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, just whatever it is. I mean, if there is any serious mental health issue, there should be no hesitation in requiring serious medical attention. In many things, and things leading up to serious mental health issues, I think there's a need to establish the support system again. Family, religiosity, believe it or not. Dhikr, salah. Oh, how do I call dhikr in English? Huh? Meditation? What did you just say? Meditation? You said that? Wonderful. Oh, and what does meditation do? Yani dhikr, la ilaha illallah. So that engaged surrender to Allah. What does it do? Release muscle tension, physiologically speaking. Reduces blood pressure. Slows the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. Can we go further? Right, medically speaking. So, does meditation help? The salah, the dhikr? Yeah. Listening to the Quran? Yeah. Meditation. You're actually present. So, all these things we need to do. So that's again the job of a community, I would say. It's family, community, to provide support system, to provide gatherings that are, how do I say, non-dogmatic, non-cultish, sane, religious, spiritual gatherings, non-judgmental, sane, religious, spiritual gatherings, where it provides spiritual infusions and upliftment and all that to the people, and also family time and et cetera, et cetera. So I think again, I don't want to be intrusive on the medical field of psychiatry here, but the cases before it needs to reach that level, we need to encourage dhikr every day, even if you don't have a congregation, even if you're at home by yourself. And that's why a lot of the teachers of tazkiyah, for example, assign a 10-minute, for example, dhikr every day. I don't care if whatever you're doing, you need to be doing 10 minutes a day of dhikr. You call it remembrance of Allah, I call it meditation, whatever you want to call it. I call it presence, actually. I don't even call it meditation. So presence with Allah, right? Very nice. That's very important because you're living alone. You've cut everything. We're trying now, our society is in a way that pushes absolute oneness of the human being, though the oneness is only to Allah. And with that severing of all the relationships and deconstructing all that, you really need to reach out yourself to beyond you. You need to be part of something bigger than you. And also, in my view, and again that goes back to the sister that asked about religious education or what we can do, you need to have a meaning of life for life, not a purpose. I don't care about a purpose. I care about a meaning. A meaningful life can provide purpose, not the other way around. Purpose could be a milestone. Okay, your purpose is to get this, your purpose is to get, okay. I need a meaningful life. And in my view, the Quran and the Sunnah provide, spiritual, religious life provides a meaningful life, not just a purposeful life. Yeah. Give back. Positive contribution. Gotta give back. That's part of the deal. When is the time up?
We've got 20 minutes.
20 minutes? Allahu Akbar. نوينا الصيام إن شاء الله.
Assalamu alaikum. My question is, I have a daughter and she's 8 years old, and I wanted to find out, like, you know, when you're trying to encourage them to pray salah, so that before it becomes fard on them, then they know and it becomes easy for them. But my question is, like, you know, when they refuse to pray and they say it's not fard on me, it's my choice, I don't have to. How do you encourage them and enforce, or like, I don't know, so to make them want to pray salah and to give them that guidance?
You start them when you're 3, 4, 5. Come pray with me. I'd like you to stand with me and pray. So it becomes, I'm praying with mommy. Whatever mommy does, I'm doing with her. And that's how it should grow when they're in sort of unconscious growth. And when they become conscious, then little by little it becomes you nurture until it becomes nature. That's the idea. But if you abandon it the whole time, they won't grow up with it, so then they'll think it's just a choice. So start them with, hey, I'm coming to pray, come. Even, meaning, yeah, your 3-year-old, 4-year-old, she doesn't have to have hijab and wear anything. Just come and stand and pray with me. Let her go do sujood, ruku on her own, you know. It's okay. Mommy is in salah, okay, I remember, okay. And now until they just grow with it, this is the norm. Allahu alam.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. My name's Tahira.
Tahira?
Tahira, yeah.
Tahira.
Yeah.
Hi, Tahira.
I just want to ask, I've got 3 children under 10. How do we further deepen and instill the love of our Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam into their hearts? Because, you know, we can tell them the stories, and like you said, everything's through rhetoric. How can we deepen that?
Yeah, very good question. Observational learning. The most effective learning method is observational. And when kids grow, watching their parent or observing their parents, revering the Prophet ﷺ and expressing love, expressively loving him, rather than just saying, I love him. And that is emotionally as well. That impression is lasting in the life of a kid. Any child would remember their mother or father's eyes watering in a certain situation. Don't hold that from your children. I'm not saying fake it. Well, all right. Fake it until you make it. Because you should have it. And today, we live in such a world that is sentiment-based, where sentiments are giving central values in lieu of truths and facts. So today, you all know, we're pushing something called, well, it's not, I'll just call it that, but that's what it is, in my view. It's self-deification religion, without telling people that we're pushing you to worship yourself. But that's really what it is. Okay? And in the self-deification religion, your sentiments are revelation. Whatever you feel is the absolute truth. That's religion. Every other religion is false except what you feel. Even within the religion, if you feel about something religiously right, then you must be right. Because you are just right. I'm not telling you you're God, but that's what you're told indirectly. So in that kind of environment where everything is so over accentuated in the sense of sentiments, it's really maybe balancing, to say the least, to be expressive of your feelings and emotions about your things that you really care about. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Ahlul Bayt, the Sahaba, the righteous people, your parents, etc., people that that have influenced you positively. These things are important and these things are lasting. Meaning, like you said, for younger children, it's really difficult to impart love theoretically, but observational learning is the key. And children learn that reverence from their parents. So it needs to be also, yeah, I think I should stop here.
I have a preteens, like she's turning teenager very soon, and I feel like this is like the most crucial part where they're being exposed to more to the world and the environment, like the World Wide Web, like you said, and it's something that is very hard for us to contain, and that to stop, like 100% block it from. Yeah, and then like you've done the nurturing, like when they were young and when they were still young kids, and then this is when I find it difficult to balance the way I was brought up and during my time in my culture. Being strict is maybe one of the best ways to educate your kids and to prevent them from doing the wrong things and stuff. But today I feel like it's a different kind of world, and I can't be that strict anymore. And then but not too soft. How do I find the balance? Like, where do I cross the line when they do something wrong, and then, or when you find you need to correct some things with them, but I don't want to push it too hard because that might break my kids. So it's like, how do I find that balance? Thank you.
I don't know. I don't know. Trying few things. I don't envy parents, and I'm one of them, in this time of unbelievable onslaught on values, effacement of cultural, religious reinforcement of values, and you're trying to stand up in a current. So I think it needs to start early with instillment of values as much as you can, reiterating of expectations, also occupying them in doing better things, maybe indirectly. All right, so the idle mind is a devil's playground, right? So, and I know that's going to come at the cost of your either comfort or other things, but maybe then let's do something. We'll sign up for this course. We'll sign up for this activity. So meaning diversify their energy, because they have a lot of energy to give at this point. And if you keep boxing them in, that energy is too much to be contained. It's going to definitely overspill and cause issues. So maybe we need to channel the energy indirectly towards things that are not necessarily religious, but decent, sports, art, music, I don't know, right? Etc. Few things where I can invest in their energy, another language, another something that's of cultural, educational, sports, decent hobby, etc. Growth, where they become, where I open for them an avenue of growth elsewhere, so their energy is also taken elsewhere. If you occupy the mind in doing good things, it has less time and energy to do evil. That's one of the ways to tackle it. How can I give them less time and energy to do evil or to be exposed to evil? Let me absorb as much energy in good things and diversify it. And buy them, have them buy on the project, sort of, hey, what do you think we should do? Y'all want to sign up for some sports? I mean, I've been thinking, you want to do MMA? Kung Fu? I don't know. Silat? I mean, something, right? What should we do? Poetry? How about poetry classes? I don't know. Figure out something, but occupy them. If you don't occupy them with that level of energy, they're bound to be exposed, and they're not always going to come out safe. They're always going to come out wounded, to say the least, if they're safe. So may Allah protect them all. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. ورضي الله عن أزواجه وأصحابه وأحبابه والتابعين وعنا معهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أنت ربي لا إله إلا أنت خلقتنا ونحن عبيدك ونحن على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعنا نعوذ بك من شر ما صنعنا نبوء إليك بنعمتك علينا ونبوء بذنوبنا فاغفر لنا ربنا فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت يا رب العالمين. رب أوزعني ربنا اجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك وأرنا مناسكنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا وابعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياتك ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. ربنا اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولأولادنا ولأصحاب الحقوق علينا. اجمعنا واحفظنا جميعا واشفنا وعافنا ربنا. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا. والحمد لله رب العالمين. Thank you so much. Allah bless you.